Today, we'll be sharing the timeless story of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This classic novel takes us into the world of the Bennet family and explores the intricate themes of love, social class, and human character. At its heart is the journey of Elizabeth Bennet, a sharp-witted, independent young woman, and her relationship with the enigmatic Mr. Darcy. Austen's vivid portrayal of 19th-century English society, along with her deep insights into human nature, make Pride and Prejudice a work that continues to captivate readers even today. Through Elizabeth and Darcy's transformation from prejudice and pride to self-awareness and understanding, Austen reminds us of the importance of looking beyond first impressions. So, let's dive into the world of Pride and Prejudice and discover the profound messages woven into this literary masterpiece. Overview: Pride and Prejudice explores the lives, romances, and misunderstandings of Elizabeth Bennet and her family in early 19th century England. Known for its wit and keen observations, the novel examines issues of class, marriage, family, and societal expectations. At its heart is the evolving relationship between Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, whose journey from prejudice and pride to understanding and love provides a rich exploration of human nature and societal norms. Volume I. Chapters 1 to 6, Introduction to the Bennet family and Mr. Bingley. The novel opens with the famous line, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." We meet the Bennet family, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, and their 5 daughters, Jane, Elizabeth, Mary, Kitty, and Lydia. Mrs. Bennet is eager to marry off her daughters, particularly as the nearby Netherfield Park is let by Mr. Bingley, a wealthy, charming gentleman. The Bennets attend a ball where Mr. Bingley is introduced, along with his proud and enigmatic friend, Mr. Darcy. While Bingley quickly becomes enamored with Jane, Elizabeth overhears Darcy describing her as tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. This slight incites her dislike for Darcy, marking the beginning of the titular prejudice. Chapters 7 to 12, Jane and Bingley's growing affection, Elizabeth's view of Darcy. Jane visits Netherfield Park, catches a cold, and is invited to stay. Elizabeth goes to care for her, observing Darcy's aloof demeanor. Bingley's sisters attempt to befriend Elizabeth, though insincerely, while Darcy begins to admire Elizabeth's intelligence and wit. Elizabeth, however, remains wary of Darcy and is unimpressed by his haughty attitude and perceived arrogance. Chapters 13 to 18, Mr. Collins arrives, Mr. Wickhams Stories. Mr. Collins, a pompous clergyman and heir to the Bennet estate, arrives intending to propose to one of the Bennet sisters. His obsequiousness and focus on social status make him seem absurd. During this time, Elizabeth meets Mr. Wickham, a handsome soldier with a grudge against Darcy. Wickham claims that Darcy deprived him of a promised inheritance, intensifying Elizabeth's unfavorable view of Darcy. At the Netherfield ball, Darcy's attention to Elizabeth is noted, though she remains uninterested. Mr. Collins awkwardly proposes to Elizabeth, who rejects him despite her mother's protests. Volume 2. Chapters 19 to 23. Mr. Collins marries Charlotte Lucas. Mr. Collins promptly turns his attentions to Elizabeth's friend Charlotte Lucas, who accepts his proposal for practical reasons. Elizabeth is disappointed, feeling that Charlotte has sacrificed love for security. Meanwhile, Bingley unexpectedly leaves Netherfield, causing Jane heartbreak. Elizabeth suspects that Darcy and Bingley's sisters are behind his departure. Chapters 24 to 27, Elizabeth visits Charlotte. Elizabeth travels to visit Charlotte and Mr. Collins at their parsonage near Rosings Park, home to Lady Catherine de Bourgh, Darcy's wealthy and domineering aunt. Elizabeth finds Lady Catherine overbearing and rude. Meanwhile, Darcy arrives at Rosings, and Elizabeth's resentment grows as Darcy is evasive about his role in separating Bingley and Jane. Chapters 28 to 34, Darcy's proposal and Elizabeth's refusal. During Elizabeth's stay, Darcy unexpectedly proposes, declaring his love despite her lower social status. However, he does so in a manner that insults Elizabeth's family. Offended, Elizabeth rejects him, citing his arrogance and his role in Jane and Bingley's separation. Darcy is taken aback, and Elizabeth's emotions are a mix of triumph and anger. Volume 3, Chapters 35 to 37, Darcy's letter. The next day, Darcy hands Elizabeth a letter explaining his actions. He admits to separating Jane and Bingley, believing Jane to be indifferent and the Bennet family's behavior inappropriate. Darcy also defends himself regarding Wickham, revealing Wickham's true character and his attempted elopement with Darcy's younger sister, Georgiana. This letter forces Elizabeth to reconsider her judgments. Chapters 38 to 42, Elizabeth's reflections, return home. Elizabeth's understanding of Darcy's character begins to shift, and she realizes she may have misjudged him. She returns home and learns that the militia, including Wickham, will soon depart, bringing relief to her family. Chapters 43 to 46, Pemberley Visit and Lydias Elopement. Elizabeth visits Darcy's estate, Pemberley, with her aunt and uncle, the gardeners. They are impressed by the elegance of Darcy's home and by the loyalty of his servants, who speak highly of him. Unexpectedly, Darcy himself arrives and, to Elizabeth's surprise, is gracious and attentive. Just as Elizabeth begins to view Darcy in a favorable light, she receives news that Lydia has eloped with Wickham, potentially bringing scandal to her family. Chapters 47 to 50, Darcy's role in Lydia's marriage. Elizabeth returns home, fearing the worst for Lydia. However, Darcy quietly intervenes, persuading Wickham to marry Lydia and covering their financial needs. This act of kindness shocks Elizabeth, who realizes that Darcy's love and integrity run deep. Chapters 51 to 57, Bingley proposes to Jane, Darcy's continued efforts. Bingley returns and proposes to Jane, who joyfully accepts. Lady Catherine visits Elizabeth, demanding she renounce any claim on Darcy, but Elizabeth refuses, displaying her independence. Darcy admires her resilience, and through Bingley's engagement, their paths continue to intersect. Chapters 58 to 61, Elizabeth and Darcy's engagement. Finally, Darcy proposes again, and Elizabeth, who has overcome her prejudice, accepts. Their union symbolizes a balance between love and reason, pride and humility. The novel concludes with the two happily married, highlighting the power of growth, understanding and resilience. Themes and insights. Pride and Prejudice emphasizes the value of love, the importance of individual growth, and the folly of judging others too hastily. Through Elizabeth and Darcy's journey, Austen reveals that true happiness lies in self-awareness, compassion, and the courage to transcend social norms.